The Creative Psychotherapist is the official podcast of the Creative Clinicians Corner, a practice-building resource for creative psychotherapists. TCP Podcast is the cast for creative, expressive, and experiential-focused psychotherapists curious to learn how to design, build, and scale a thriving private practice. Your host, Raina Lombardi, interviews successful therapists about the tools and strategies they have used to develop creative-focused practices. They also talk about the products, services, and side hustles they have developed using their knowledge and creativity to enhance their therapy practices, make a greater impact in their communities, and diversify their income streams. Welcome. Now here's your host, Raina Lombardi.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. I'd like to introduce you today, my guest, Ricky Roberts III. He's the author of 7 books: You, What Really Matters, Where Did the Gift Go, Awakening the New You, A Path to Transformation, Just for Youth, and Healing the Wounded Child Within, Heal Your Wounds, Change Your Life, and Far From Easy, What It Takes to Make Your Dreams a Reality, which is what we're going to be focusing on today. He is a youth advocate, a national speaker, and founder of You Are Valued, also known as YAV, a movement to value others. As a young person, Roberts was exposed to and experienced abuse on many levels, which impacted his perception of love and self-worth. After being stabbed 9 times at the age of 17, he let go of his role as a victim and began to ask how he can use everything he's experienced to impact others in a positive way. He takes everything he's learned, not only from his own healing process, but those he has had the privilege to help in theirs, and fuses it into his continued effort to best understand how he may be of service to others. Today, Ricky inspires through his writing, speaking engagements, efforts with the YAV movement, which has reached as far as South Africa, the Philippines, and Paris, and continues to expand in the States, and his interaction with others on a daily basis. He's devoted to reaching people in a positive way wherever he may be. Beyond his passion for inspiring others, he also enjoys surfing, skateboarding, mountain biking, reading, writing, nature, both doing and appreciating art and traveling. And he resides in his hometown of St. Petersburg, Florida, with his wife and their 2 dogs. Welcome. Thanks for joining me, Ricky.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. It's nice to see you and nice to talk to you.
Nice. Same here. Same here. So why don't we start by talking about what made you decide to write your last book on inspiring people's dreams, making your dreams a reality?
The last book was inspired with the desire to have a real conversation about what it actually takes to make your dreams a reality. You know, I have heard so many times over the years, like, just follow your passion, follow your dreams, everything will work out. And a lot of positive affirmations, which I wholeheartedly believe in and appreciate, and they're beneficial in so many ways.
Absolutely.
But oftentimes, especially along the way on the journey, I didn't hear a lot about the truth and what it meant to really follow my dreams and what I would expect to experience along the way. So, you know, my first book came out over 14 years ago, roughly around that time. And since then, you know, there's been so many different obstacles and things that I experienced and hardships. And in those times, more than I can count, this sense of overwhelm and feeling really discouraged, questioning everything that I thought I was doing, battling like with the idea and the feelings of just giving up on what I want to do and just go back to what's safe and comfortable, get a job, whatever that might look like. So, you know, it was just in that reflection process as things were coming along for me, I just felt inspired to share like the reality of what it takes, so that, you know, when people are in that process, it's it's validation that just because things are hard right now, just because you're overwhelmed, and just because nothing is working out like you thought it would, doesn't mean that you're going down the wrong path, or doesn't mean that you have to give in or give up. Because there are many times I've felt like that. So it's more of the desire to inspire people to follow their dreams and make them the reality, but also that offering that support and sort of like encouragement along the way. It's okay that you're going through this, because this is a part of it, you know. So it's to encourage people to do it, but then also the people who are on the journey, it's just like an affirmation or kind of confirmation that
they're not alone.
They're not alone.
They're not alone. I think we all experience those things when we're trying to push through and chase our dreams and go after whatever that reality is. I think a lot of us look at it as, you know, business opportunities. Sometimes it's other hobbies that turn into business ventures. But
yes. And that sense of isolation that, you know, you're saying they're not alone is the people can support your dreams, and people can like understand them, and, you know, maybe your significant other or spouse, whoever, can be like one of your biggest cheerleaders or fans or support. But the truth is no one really understands your dream like you do. No one like really feels it, and it's not in them, you know, like you're giving those visions and are given those visions and dreams and everything you have inside you. So there are times when, at least for me in the past, I felt so isolated and alone because people couldn't see what I could see or believe in it in the same way that I believe in it. Even if people say positive things or like do encourage, it's still like just, it's a different thing that you experience as an individual. And because of that, you sometimes feel alone in it. Like no one gets you or understands. So it's an interesting journey, to say the least.
Definitely. And then the work of it too, sometimes when you're just getting started in something, you are working alone in isolation. And most of us are used to working in groups somehow. So that's a
There's
difference
no one
too.
to call and like, you know, to like, you're not having a team meeting about what the right decision is for your logo, for your website, for like whatever copy you're writing and content you're putting out there. There's no team meeting about it. Like it's just, you're the answer. And it's, you know, it's of course you have people around you and you can ask and things like that, but ultimately you're alone in it until you develop a team and have a team and all. But the earlier stages in the beginning, you're talking about the work and putting that time and effort in. And then there's also the part of no compensation, like for so much of what you have to do to start anything, from these ideas in your mind and these feelings in your heart to turn them into reality. You know, so
it becomes a real labor of love. And
absolutely.
I think there has to be the heart connection. You know, you're like, what's in your heart? It can't just be what's in your head, because if it's not in your heart, I think it's the part that's in your heart that helps you push through those times that are really difficult, because you know your heart is connected to the vision and the help that, or the service that you want to provide to others. And without that heart connection, it can be really hard to push through those darker moments.
Absolutely. I feel like that's the part of yourself that you lean into and that you rely on so heavily to push through the dark times and the obstacles and struggles that are involved along the way. You know, for me, if there wasn't a deep meaning behind what I do, and there wasn't that feeling of some sense of obligation to that inside, and that strong drive and passion I have to do the work that I do, I would have bailed a long time ago. Like if it was about me in my head, there were many other things that I could have done that would have been a lot easier, you know. And there are times, like for example, along the way, there was a time where things got so hard, I had no clue what was going on, where my funds were coming in. I had $37 to my name. I was on like the verge of needing to leave my house because I couldn't afford the house that I had at that point anymore. Didn't have the money to even get into a new place. And I'm just like, wow, this is where homelessness happens. Like I could see like this, I mean, I could go stay places or something like that, but by definition, like that would be homelessness. But then it was, you know, it was just this connection to this part of me that it was always, and I start at the beginning of this, of the Far From Easy about that, is how far are you willing to go for what your dreams, these questions that you ask yourself on, like, how willing are you? And all along, you know, is that deep conviction in that heart, that meaning for me, and that deep purpose of I'm willing to go as far as I need to go, you know. And if this means that I'm about to like live in my Honda Element for a little while, like along the journey, then I'm willing to go that far. Of course, I didn't. Things worked out. I had this random opportunity come from this place that this person had that was renting. I was able to do work to get into the place for my first, and security and all of it. It just, I have so many stories about how things have randomly worked out in the times that they needed to the most. But I feel like we're pushed up against that often, of like the overwhelm and the burden of the struggles and the obstacles that we're facing. It's like a test for how much we really believe in what we're going for. And there's been so many times that when you just lean into that feeling, like just stop up here and just lean into that feeling of, why are you passionate about helping people? Why do you want to do this work? Why do you want to start this business? What is that deep meaning for you? And when you like connect with that, you're able to face things that your mind is telling you run the other way, like get something safe. When I'm $37 to my name as a grown person with the ability to get jobs, it's not like I'm not qualified to get there. I didn't have opportunities. It was just, it was not me following my passion and my dreams. So I stayed committed. But in my mind, it would have been easy to bail at that point.
Absolutely. I think you raise a really great point about entrepreneurship in general, where I feel like when you are putting yourself out there on the line to do your life's work, but also to be able to create a life as a result of your life's work, that does not feel safe.
Yes.
It doesn't feel safe. And a lot of the work that we have to do is about being able to manage that and address that and refute it and say, okay, well, you know, that 9-to-5 job, that's not necessarily safe either. No. It's a false perception of safety.
Absolutely. It's, you know, and I've talked with so many people about this, you know, entrepreneurs, and some people who have thought about leaving what they say their safe job is. And there is no safety in any of it. You know, anyone with any job in this time of our existence can go in tomorrow and be told that your position is no longer funded or downsized, whatever that looks like. And beyond that, not only is that not safe, we have no guarantee about where our life is going, like how long we're going to live, like how long we're even going to be here doing this thing. So I tell people often, if you're in a position where you're not happy with what you're doing with your life, and you have this nudge on your heart, like chipping away and calling at you over and over again, like, hey, start me, do this, like bring me to the world, like show other people, start this business, start this practice, be helping and serving in the way that you feel authentically called to do it, that's not going to stop calling your attention. You can push it away as long as you want and avoid it and ignore it, but in some way, even if you go years and years of ignoring it, it's still just going to be there, nudging at you. And how I see it, it just feels way more secure to me to listen to that and follow that than it does not to, at least in terms of secure, in the sense of creating a life that I can be at peace and happy with.
Yeah. And I think that's the whole reason of going out on our own. I at least for me, it was to be able to help people in the way that I wanted to help people and do the work that I wanted to do, and to be really creative in how I did it, which I felt like in the 9-to-5 type job, there were so many constraints that I couldn't be creative in the way that I wanted to. But I also wanted to create a life that is worth living, a life that allowed me more freedom, to take time to take care of myself and family and travel, do different things, which is very difficult to do in the traditional 9-to-5, 40-hour-a-week model. And I think most people I know that are in that model aren't working 40 hours a week. They're working 55 hours a week.
Yes.
Florida Art Therapy Services is a proud sponsor of the TCP podcast. They offer art therapy for individuals and groups, as well as qualified supervision services and high-quality, experiential-driven continuing education for art therapists, mental health counselors, and clinical social workers. Visit www.floridaarttherapyservices.com for more information. And if you're interested in becoming a sponsor of the Creative Psychotherapist podcast, we have copper, silver, and gold options. So visit www.creativeclinicianscorner.com/podcast for more information.
And and that's where you assess the benefits, the pros and cons of each, where what some people may see as security, then you ask, it's not just about your income, or even, for example, it's not just about me creating my life off of, doing my speaking engagements and books and things like that. It's a holistic vision of my life, the amount of time that I want for myself, the amount of time that I want to be able to spend with my wife, or spend writing, spend doing other things, taking care of myself, that helps me be the best version that I can be in order to be the greatest service to other people ultimately. So it's a really important point that you make. It's not just about following this one dream or starting this one business, but it's for me, at least, it's more about what type of life do I want for myself? How do I want to live that? And I came to terms several years ago that one of the most important things for me is to have a sense of freedom. And that doesn't mean that I just sit around and do nothing every day. It means that if there's something that comes up that I would like to do to take care of myself, I'm able to do that, right? If there's something that presents itself in our life that needs attention, we're in control of not our destiny, but our time, essentially. And this is in no way am I discounting people who do work the 9 to 5 and find their like comfort and peace there, because to be honest, there are times, and I think even yesterday I was having one of those mild, like mental, like the negativity was sort of getting me more than I was able to reframe what I was thinking about. And there was like moments in my day where I thought, I just wish I was one of those people that could go work, like just have a regular job scenario, work for an organization, be a director, whatever it might be.
Mm-hmm.
And because there are times where I think about what we were talking about, that security and that, or just that like sort of comfort and not having all the pressure on me, or not knowing where my next like piece of income is coming from or anything. So I want to be very clear with the listeners. I get it. I totally understand. There are things to be said for having that. And I don't want to say security because it's not secure, but having that regular thing to report to, and the structure and different things that come along with it. But I also know if there's something that's calling on you to do, that it's more than worth stepping out of whatever you think you need from that 9 to 5 scenario, in order to pursue.
And in the work that I do with clients, I'm always talking about how growth occurs when we place ourselves in situations of healthy discomfort, and how we need to put ourselves in a little bit of a scary zone. We're not talking about like ridiculously high risk situations, but healthy risks.
Yes.
And in order to grow and move forward. Otherwise, we sit in a state of comfortably uncomfortable.
Yes, comfortably uncomfortable and comfortably unhappy.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you brought that up, is that you have to challenge yourself and push past your comfort zones. And you don't, like when I say, if there's something call on you, if you want to start your own business to whatever extent that is, it doesn't mean that you just leave your job tomorrow. There's a strategy that you can create to like start to lower your bills, start to minimize everything that you can. You set yourself up. It's not like you just hear this podcast and then tomorrow put in your notice and what am I going to do? There's things you have to put in order, even like, getting your business that you want to start somewhat ready to even start. Like there's stages. So, but it starts with getting yourself uncomfortable, assessing, and because sometimes even talking about it can make people uncomfortable. Right. Talking about taking that big step, especially if they've been, when I left the business I was there for 10 years. I like, in terms of societal success, I was there at a young age, like to where everything was really going in the right direction. I was buying this business. Everything was looking pretty solid on paper. So I get what that means to challenge yourself and face your things that are uncomfortable, because when all of a sudden I felt like I had to leave that and I wasn't going to do that anymore. It's not like I just could close up the next day, right? Like it was this process. But it was uncomfortable to even think, wait, my whole identity is tied to this. This is what my plans are. These are my goals. Now I have to, like, everything's changing. And that was uncomfortable to start looking at it. But that was a process to get out of that.
I totally 100% agree with you. And you saying that, it brought me back to a conversation I had with a colleague probably 10 years ago. And she was like, you could totally do it. You should totally open your own practice. You'll be great. It'll be okay. And I remember thinking, what? I don't know. I don't know if I'm ready for that. I don't know if I can handle it. Like all the what ifs and the, am I, good enough, smart enough, capable enough? All of that stuff really rose to the surface. But it was a great conversation because it really lit the fire within to get me to think about and work through that negative talk that I was engaging in,
Yes.
which was just the fear.
Yes. And in terms of your work, think about how much better working through that and getting into those uncomfortable positions, challenging yourself to become your own practice, create your own practice, and do what you've done already, how much better you're able to serve your clients because of that.
Yeah.
You've gone through this practice and this experience with all of the limiting beliefs and everything that comes up in order to start your own practice that just makes you better therapist anyways, and in my opinion, so it gives you that extra like depth to your work that you wouldn't have if you didn't follow that desire to be an entrepreneur and have your own practice.
Right. I think it comes into this like it's really addressing your own dissonance within, right? If I'm not addressing the dissonance within so that I can move to living the way I want to live and what I
Yes.
think is best for me, how can I help other people move through their dissonance and their
Absolutely.
resistance if I can't even do that myself?
Yes.
So there definitely is a lot of interplay there. I think the work of the therapist is constant work on the self.
Yes.
Um,
And
all
if
the
you're a
time.
therapist listening and you work for an agency or whatever that is, and you're not starting your own, and don't have an interest, that doesn't mean that you're not a great therapist because you don't go start your own. I want to be
Oh,
very clear
oh
about
yeah.
that. Um,
I agree. I agree too. Because some people might not have that desire to do
yeah,
that.
it's not everyone. Being an entrepreneur is not for everyone. I can attest to that for
Yeah.
sure.
So if you were to recommend one thing that everyone considering launching out on their own, developing their own product, service, something that's going to be in service of others, where should they start in terms of the idea process, right?
Well, I would start with clarity. You getting
Mm-hmm.
clear on what that is, what that looks like. Is it a book that you want to write? Is it a podcast that you want to start? Is it something that you want to do full time? Is it like make your life
Mm-hmm.
revolve around this? Is it, getting really clear on what that is and what it means to you. Why are you doing it? Like the heart behind it. Is it to get more recognition from your peers or colleagues or someone in your family that's telling you can't, or society in general, or is it for you? And if it's just to do like mark something else off or get any kind of recognition or approval, that's not going to sustain you.
No.
But when you really get into touch with your reason behind it and your why, like for me, for example, nothing I do is about me. Like, it has nothing to do with me. It's about the people I want to impact and inspire. And what drives me and moves me through whatever rough waters I have to endure to continue to do it is the belief that if I reach one person, I reach them all. That's the driving force behind everything that I do. And that carries me through whatever I need to carry through.
Yeah.
So I believe in like getting clear first and really getting in touch with that for yourself. And I feel like doing that before you start talking with other people about it. Maybe your significant other or someone really close to you talk with, that's fine. But what I have found personally, even if it's a book idea of a new book, I don't really talk with anyone about stuff that I'm feeling I want to create until I'm so dead set and solid on it that it doesn't matter what anyone else says or what their input is. It's not going to waver anyways. And my point is that sometimes if you start asking people or tell people about your ideas or this, I'm going to start my own practice, it's just, you're going to have negativity, just like their own self-doubt, their limited beliefs, all these things you start to take into play that are being like put into your consciousness, that's going to feed in on what you're already going to have to deal with internally in your own mind to work past. It just compounds it all. So I always recommend keeping it close, keeping it private until you're really so clear and so certain on what you're planning to do and wanting to do, that you can't be taken from it once you start going in that direction. And that comes with being just like super clear and connected with your why.
Yeah, it makes me think of the book by Simon Sinek. Have you read it? Start with Why? Or have you heard of it?
I know the book. I know Simon Sinek. I don't know him, but I know of him. I've heard some great talks that he's done and stuff, but I haven't read that book.
Yeah, but it really connects with the message that you're driving home. Is just getting really clear on what your why is and why you're doing what you're doing, and how that, that becomes your driving force and creating everything in the business or whatever you're working towards.
Yes.
But I also
because
think
that's that foundation they can always come back to. Like whatever decision you make or have to make about your business, you go back to it all the time. Like, why are you doing it? What are your intentions behind it and for it? It's just a nice place to be able to check in with continuously, and it's like a great source for inspiration and motivation.
Yeah. And I think, like what you were saying, if we're not clear about what that message is for us, if other people do start talking, not only might they bring in negativity, but they also might influence what our vision is and try to change it.
Yes.
So if we're really solid in the foundation of why we want to do what we're doing, then we're not going to be influenced and rocked off very easily.
And this is not to say, once you get to a certain point that it's not okay to have brainstorming sessions and everything else with friends and colleagues, family members but just being clear first, so that way you can take people's input, implement what you like and disregard what you don't like, but you're not flexible on what you believe in for yourself and your vision.
Yeah, no, I think that's really great sound advice. Is there anything else that you would really like to share with the listeners today who are therapists looking into developing their own practices or creating products or services that are of value to other people?
First, thank you for what you do, Raina, and thank you to all of the therapists and life coaches and whoever's out there that's giving of themselves in their life to be of service to others and create whatever products that are going to add value to other people's life. It's a beautiful thing, and to say it's needed is an understatement. So I just want to encourage you to keep doing what you're doing and listening to that deep inspiration and guidance, direction that has always moved you to the point that you're at now, that
Mm-hmm.
you went through everything you had to go through already to become a therapist, if that's, we're talking about therapists in general at this point. And if you think about starting your own practice and are wanting to do that, I just say, listen, just like you've listened this far, to become a therapist at all. And if you feel burdened or overwhelmed by where to start, just tap into the resources that are available. And this is kind of random, but look back on your course load and whatever your thesis was, or whatever you did to get through the steps that it took you to be a therapist now. And trust me, if you can do that, you can start your own practice, and trust that it will be supported, and you will get clients, and you will be there to be able to serve the exact people that you need to serve.
Yeah, I think that's definitely one of the things that we have to constantly remind ourselves when we're doing the work and the phones aren't ringing, that the person that needs to be here will show up.
Yes.
And be okay with that.
Absolutely. And, you know, that's where the whole reach one to reach them all is, you know, that mantra for me comes from an experience I had with my younger sister passing away. She overdosed. She was, I think, 26 or 27, left a child behind that. Then the father ended up going to prison for like drug related stuff. Anyways, in that process, you know, my sister had troubles for a long time, and I let her read some of my books. I would talk to her. I would do things that I felt like I could do to help, you know, help her, inspire her, support her, something. And of course, there are ways I fell short, and reflection back on what I might have been able to do differently. But when she passed away, I just, you know, I always look for the lesson, the greater lesson in whatever turmoil we may face in this life or what we're going through. And I just kept like kind of digging deep and being open as I was grieving and going through the process of like, what is the purpose? What can I learn from this? How can I take this and help me be a better person and just like move me forward in my life? And what I kept getting from that experience is, we can't help everyone that we want to. We can't save everyone that we want to, especially people in the field of service and wanting to help, wanting to give back, wanting to encourage people, support people in whatever capacity. And sometimes we can't help the people we want to the most.
Yeah.
But what I do know is I couldn't help my sister, but I know that I've had the opportunity to help other people. And because we can't always help who we want to, or help as many people as we want to, or maybe you start your own practice, you don't have as many clients as you think that you want to have or need or whatever, for that one person that we impact and that we reach, what else is? That's everyone. To reach that one person is to reach them all, because you reach them, and to them, they are the world. That is the world. And if we can do that, every obstacle that we have to face, every self-doubt, every struggle, every challenge that we have to go through to do this work is beyond worth it, just to reach that one person.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for sharing that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's definitely not easy sometimes, but I think it is helpful when we're able to find ways of thinking about it that allow us to just be comfortable with what we're doing in the moment, even if it's not what our vision is. And in that way, if we're just focused on the one person that we're present with at this time, and doing our best work in that moment, then we're doing what we need to do.
Yes.
And so thank you for sharing that tip. I think a lot of people could benefit from that, because there's
You're
a lot of
welcome.
fear that comes up when we're not, like, well, maybe
Yeah.
I'm not doing something right because I don't have enough people coming.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And just think like, I mean, for example, there was a therapist that I was talking to. I'm just going back to that experience with my sister, actually. And there was a person that was there. She had her own practice. We worked through that process, and I was going through like this crazy breakup at the same time. So there was a lot going on, and it was, I was so grateful to have her there
mm-hmm.
in my life at that time, talking through it. And if she wasn't there with her own practice, she wouldn't have been there. Like, there's no
Yeah.
way around it. Like, we connected with her because she created the platform. She facilitated the opportunity for me to work with her and do the healing I need to do with her help and her assistance, and her
Mm-hmm.
guidance. But if she didn't take that leap to follow her passion and to follow her desire to create her own
Right.
practice, where would I have been? I don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know. None of us know. But the point is that I'm just one of the many that she
Mm-hmm.
got to help and impact and benefit through her practice and through her path of creating that practice.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So beautiful. I'm glad she was there for you when you needed somebody.
Yes.
Um,
And anyone listening, that practice that you want to create, that product that you want to create, whatever it is being called out of you. It's in you. It's a part of you, because at some point there's someone else that's going to need what you have
mm-hmm.
to offer,
Right. I
in
think
the
that
way that you can only the way that you can do it. There's no,
exactly.
Raina can't do it in the way that you can do it. I can't do it. Only you can do it the way you can do it.
Yeah. Perfect. That's what I was going to follow up with too. That, like, even though somebody else might be doing the same thing or saying the same message, the way you convey that message is going to be different, and other people are going to resonate with that, where they might
Absolutely.
not resonate with the message that I have. So it doesn't matter that other people have done it before. Sometimes that can be like an excuse that we make, like, oh, well, there's so many other people doing that. Is there really a need for me to do that too?
I'll speak to that very clearly. There's over, I forget how many, like it's over 1 million or 2 million, however many books come out per year, or
Oh
some,
my
it's
gosh.
astronomical. I don't even know the exact number, but I just know it was astronomical. And it's like, then the percentage of people that actually can like make a living from there is just like, the numbers are nuts. So that's all noise. If you like think about how many, like for me, if I think about how many other people release books and how many other authors there are and all that, I would never have written the first book, and
Right.
or if you think about how many other therapists are that have a podcast or that have their own practice or have a course or product or whatever it is that they have, then you'll never do it. Like, they're
Right.
not, this isn't, we're living in a time in civilization where it's not about being the first one to do anything anymore, because it's already been done. It's do it how only you can do it. That's it. There's enough room for everyone, because
Yeah.
just like you said, Raina, how you could say the exact same thing and then you can have someone else say that same thing. There's going to be someone else that connects more with them than they do you.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you're saying you're reading the same thing, it's
Yeah.
just, we all have a place in it.
I agree. One of my philosophies is there is no competition. And
Love
that helps me to continue to do the things that I want to do and put out the different services and stuff that I want. Because if I get caught up in thinking about the competition, that derails me from my purpose. Right now, I'm not focused on what my vision is. I'm focused on somebody else and what they're doing. I have no control over that. I only have control over what I do. And so there is no competition. There's no room for that in order to do what I want to do.
That's why racehorses have blinders on, so they can see forward. And I heard the interview with on Impact Theory, Tom Billio, with who was it? The car racer, the female, like
Danny Kirkpatrick or something.
Dana, yes, Dana. I'm sorry, I'm not a NASCAR fan.
I'm not. I don't
Dana
either.
Kirkpatrick or whatever. And I apologize for hacking the name. Anyone knows NASCAR knows who we're talking about. So he was talking about like one of the best advice she got when she was younger is from her father, was telling her, because she used to look back when she was racing, like go-karts or whatever. And he would tell her, don't look back. Don't worry. Just look where your eyes go, you go. Look at the finish line. Mm-hmm. And it's such a great analogy for everything we do in our life. Like, feel what you feel. And that's where I was talking about the beginning of being clear on your vision, your focus. And you start looking side to side, and not only will it keep you from not doing it, it'll make you feel like you're not good enough, make you feel like you're not enough. Not that trap of comparison is an evil one. Right. And I wrestle with it. I'm often, it's something that I have to like check myself on and not get pulled into what everyone else is doing. I even talk about that in the book, where it's easy for me as an author and speaker to really get caught up in the way other people are presenting their information and what needs to happen, or what I feel needs to happen because other people are doing it. But I know that if it's not authentic to me, it's not going to be of value, and it's not going to come across that way. So it's that like blinders, me constantly trying to like put my blinders up and focus on what does Ricky want to do, what's true to me, what's true to my calling. And that goes for all of us.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter how many people there are doing what you want to do or think that you want to do. Like we said before, it's only going to happen the way you do it, from you and no one else.
Beautiful. I think that's probably a good place to end our conversation. If our listeners wanted to find more information about you and what you're doing and your books, where can they find that?
The best place for the books, I guess the easiest just for everyone's Amazon. Ricky with a Y, Roberts the Third, Ricky Roberts III, .com, Ricky Roberts the Third.com, or at Ricky Roberts the Third on social media.
Okay. I'll make sure that we add those in our little write-up description or show notes about our talk today. And this way there's links for that, for people to find your books and more information about what you're doing with You Are Valued and you. And
Awesome.
Thank you so much for taking the time today to share your wisdom. And hopefully we inspired some people to take action with our conversation today.
Absolutely. I'll leave it with this paraphrase of a quote a woman told me a long time ago at a book signing. And she said she took on to it earlier in life and it had proven to be true throughout her life. And I've experienced the same truth in it as well in my life. And it's, whatever, and this is paraphrased, it's not exact for what and I don't know who the author is, but whatever you vividly imagine, heartedly desire, actively act upon, must inevitably come to pass. And the thing that so many of us miss, we vision, we have all these visions, we create vision boards, we desire it, we're just so excited about it. But the action is the part that we miss. That's the part that we have to do. We have to take the action. And when we do, it'll inevitably come to pass. Everything's going to work out and it's going to happen.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The Creative Psychotherapist. If you like what you heard, please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. For show notes, downloads, and additional resources, head over to the website at www.creativeclinicianscorner.com.